Broadcasting live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth, Merrow. I'm Anthony Mormino coming to you live from the backstretch of Saratoga Race Course on another beautiful morning. And in case you're wondering, no, I did not call Seth this morning to coordinate our coats for the show, but beautiful day again. I mean, it was kind of just like the first 2 hours on Thursday morning.
There's a lot of activity.
It's picking up.
Yeah. No, I've said that to people the last couple of days. The weather seemed a little dicey when we were kicking the week off. It seemed very dicey for about an hour, and then boom, ever since it's been gorgeous. Yeah, it continues that this morning, and there was a lot of activity. I mean, behind us a while ago, there was a whole set, was like 20 from one of the barns, and now the Jim Bond horses are popping over. There's Jim himself in the car.
Here comes the Armada.
Crazy, yeah.
It's a beautiful morning, Sunday, holiday weekend. You get a chance, come on up. Yeah. I always say, even if it's just it's hard for me to what is a casual fan to get in that mindset, but I think I would be okay. Come up for 2-3 hours. You're gonna stay all day.
I mean, I think if
nice
you're a casual
midday
fan,
break.
that's
be
right
wonderful.
In the wheelhouse.
Yeah, you'd be just
come
stop
up
on over.
Take in the atmosphere. I always say to people, I run into people all the time. They're like, "Yeah, I never get over there," and I say, "You actually." This track, you don't have to be a hardcore horse racing fan. You come up, typically there's a band playing in the little band shell right out behind the grandstand, and you can just walk around the picnic area, walk through the apron. You are run into some people maybe pick a couple of numbers or go with jockey colors and make a couple of wagers. You might have some fun that way as well, but it's as much a kind of a social thing as much as watching the horses. I mean, we all love to watch and handicap and play, but you can come up and just enjoy the day up here as well.
Bettors love Saratoga too.
Yeah.
Numbers through the roof. Couple of quick notes, and I've said this many times before. I'm not a horizontal player, even though I understand how enormously popular it is. I mean, the pick five, I guess, is the bet.
As seems to have become, yeah.
But looking yesterday, and it intrigues me sometimes. So the pick six came back about 75K. It was short price horses earlier than big short. But what I always like to look at is, so the pick five, the 5 final races, the late pick five, came back about just under 8,000. Right, so it came back under 8,000.
No, over 8,000. Late pick five. Do I have yesterday's?
Yeah,
Captain Jack Sparrow, 8,700.
8,700. So that's for 50 cents. So the pick six for $1 came back, 75,000?
74 plus.
74. You needed Practical Love, who was about 7-2. I just wonder how you walk away. You win 8,000 and you're like, I think I left money on the table.
Except,
do you think they bet both those? I mean, that's all. I would feel like I lost at the track.
No, I get you, but how deep you are in that pick five, you start adding 1, 2, and then 3 or 4 horses in that other leg. The ticket starts to go up, particularly at $1. So you got to kind of pick your poison there a little bit, I think. But I'm with you. Regardless, if you're like, it would have cost us another $100, you're looking and going,
right. And that's the part that Seth hits the nail on the head. The part is, the amount of money you have to get, say 100, but you're chasing 60,000. Now you don't know this, and the 2 odds-on horses lose, the Norm Cassie and the Mark Cassie horse, and we were only kind of right. Nitrogen was 2-5. We thought maybe 1-5 would be possible, but she was 2-5 and she got beat. And we have a new course record, and as I said, the rails were up. So go with it what you will on the validity of that.
Yeah, and Fionn certainly running very well. Think Big running very well. Captain Jack Sparrow wound up the day. You used that one on top as well? Did we both?
No,
wind
not
up
on top. No.
You mentioned
yeah, he was like my second choice, I think. No, my good.
So he winds up the day with the short price, but yeah, we had a couple of double digits just prior.
Now I heard you talking with the director that you're going to have Brad Cox on later today. I don't want to,
No, I was going to preview anyway. Coming up 10 o'clock, loose on the lead. Steve Bick and I will be firing up, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll have Brad Cox on. He'll talk a little bit about the winner yesterday, and
well, that's Embrace Time, which is where I was going, and that was the 2-year-old mile race. So because I have, as our good friend Brian Dano says, a very comprehensive database, 1993, August 30th, Carl Domino, Robbie Davis, Vice on Ice, I think was the last time juveniles went a mile. And I know the game has changed, but I didn't see any writing about it. We're talking 30 years since the last 1 mile race on the turf for juveniles. And
yeah, no, because you mentioned it yesterday. I wouldn't remember when it happened, but as we talked about it,
I didn't remember it, but I knew I had a mouse click to find it.
It immediately jumped out that particularly this early, a mile on the turf.
Yeah, another good point. We're in the first week of July, but it worked out. It certainly worked out for Brad Cox of Flavia Pratt, winning a couple in a row yesterday. So, who else? I wanted to say there was so Twirling Candy had the back-to-back Offspring win. On opening day, we had Authentic, the son of Into Mischief, have back-to-back winners. But yesterday, Twirling Candy, good runner, good stallion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Both. And we'll get to that point in the year where check out some of these first-time sires and how they're going to play with,
When are the sales? Because I think I promised my wife a date. We haven't been
typically
in a long time.
Early in August.
Is it Monday, Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the game plan.
So I'm gonna take a
and
night
then
off
the next weekend is the New York Reds.
New York Reds. All right. To me, it's very intriguing, and our son just graduated high school, so my social calendar, I won't catch up with Seth, but it is opening up as it were, and when the Keeneland Select sale basically went away years ago, this became the premier early sale, and now Keeneland has that September sale. That's just unbelievable. Yeah. But I'm kind of intrigued about this.
Yeah, I always tell people if you haven't been to that, that's worth coming to as well. That's kind of a social event as
well. Very
social. In the backyard. It's now wall to wall. The weather is nice in particular. Yeah. But and if you can't make that one, the New York Red Sale has become very popular as well. So keep both of those in mind. They're kind of fun nights. You can look at a side of the game that you don't normally see, and maybe get into the breeding side a little bit. Pick up a catalog and kind of watch along, and you get to see the dam side and down the page, and you get a little information on the sire, and again, sires that may be hot this year and that kind of thing. It's fun. So yeah, mark that on your calendar.
So Ewing was good on debut.
Well, very good.
Frank had a little fun in the stretch.
I said Ewing by a block. It took me a second. Then I'm like, I see what you did.
He did there. Obliteration was just absolutely destroyed the team. Ragtime in the middle of the track, winning for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado and Godolphin.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that one, but I made the mistake by not putting that top. Obviously,
I will say I want to make one point, and this is very I don't know what the word is, so I won't use one, but it's just odd. Yeah. We have had some winning margins on clear, fast racetracks that are very atypical. Just another word he says is because I have just a system color coding that I use, and usually when you have it in off track, you'll get some of those. Just some horses won't react. But boy, we have had some huge and I'm talking on the dirt, winning margins put up. And I talked the other day about Anna Marie, where I was shocked at how much mud he had on his chest in the first eighth of a mile. And, I'm intrigued because you do not see large gaps in dirt racing with the frequency I'm feeling. So it's just anecdotal now, but we're going to have 3 days off before the third and final opening day. Maybe I'll do some look into it, but just kind of an observation. And, it could be some big performances, could be some soft fields. There's multiple things that can, and I've always said this, that I think the majority of the time, Seth, see if you agree with me here, the beaten margins is usually about the negative. I almost always think it's about
the horses
what's behind you are lacking, because there just is sort of a ceiling of how fast you can run, but there's not really a ceiling how slowly they can run. So I'm always, first up to think like beaten margins. I'm going to look at the pack before I'm going to look towards the winner.
That is typically the case. You're right.
I think day in and day out. It's Sunday, so how do we do this? Does Steve do the?
Oh, right. Steve's going to come in and do a live. Yeah, you're absolutely.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was wondering why I get here 45 minutes early for production. I guess there's no reason, but I got it wrong. So I got it wrong, kind of right. So let's go to the DePaula play of the day.
And they're off. Chevrolet, Mazda, and Ford right now at the DePaula Auto Group. Take off the savings you need on the vehicle that you want. New cars, trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and all electric. Delivered with DePaula savings. And the DePaula Auto Group has hundreds of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Remember, DePaula can service any make and model and has over 100 service bays. So buy DePaula. Think DePaula for all of your automotive needs. DePaula Auto Group. Chevrolet, Mazda, Ford, and pre-owned. DePaula.com.
Hey, everybody. Steve Bick back with you for the fourth day of the July 4th Festival. It's been a great start to the season, if you consider it the start of the season. But we got things rolling on opening day on Thursday. So darn pretty at over 12-1. Delighted so many of you came along. Pick 5, pick 4, however you used So Darn Pretty. Always gratifying when we get a win like that. And it's a great way to start the summer. Let's keep it going with another pace play, really very similar. Life Advice, the 7, Joe Sharp, Jose Ortiz, coming in from Churchill. And I think he's controlling speed. Inner turf controlling speed is very dangerous. 9-2. And I think we'll get that. 9-2, 5-1. The 2, Adviso, seems to me to be the other horse. But that one is going to have to pass quite a few. So let's look to the front end again. The 7, Life Advice. In the 6th, the DePaula play of the day. Good luck. Looking forward to the start of the meet on Wednesday.
And they're off. Chevrolet, Mazda, and Ford right now at the DePaula Auto Group. Take off the savings you need on the vehicle that you want. New cars, trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and all electric. Delivered with DePaula savings. And the DePaula Auto Group has hundreds of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Remember, DePaula can service any make and model and has over 100 service bays. So buy DePaula. Think DePaula for all of your automotive needs. DePaula Auto Group. Chevrolet, Mazda, Ford, and pre-owned. DePaula.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up the Belmont July 4th Festival. Day 4, then we'll get a little break, and then we'll open up the spa meet on Thursday.
That's the game plan.
That's what everybody says. It's been a treat. As I said, I know it's going away, but I like that Belmont thing. This I don't really, because it went back to Aqueduct and ran. This to me just... you can call it whatever you like, but this is just the meat with an extra day off.
I'm right with
that's how I look at it. And so let's kick it off today with 3-year-olds and up in for 50. Non-winners of 1 other than going 6 on the dirt.
1, 5, 2, and 4. The number 1 is Antonio of Venice. Had a little bit of a layoff March to June, and then put in a decent second place finish last time. on that comebacker and should benefit from that. So I'll go in that direction. 1,900 in the second spot. Beaten favorite last time, moving out of maiden company into a stakes race. But that maiden victory, that was an eye popper for the Tom Morley runner. So I'm going to give this one another shot. Gets into the more proper non-winners of one other than, and I'll look for a rebound to what we saw just before. And because of that, may wind up being the one to beat, certainly. So we'll see how that all works out. And then in the third spot, Gun It. Just a really productive 9-year-old, 54 starts, 8 wins, 13 seconds, 10 thirds, over $800,000 in the bank. Comes off the claim for Ilkay Kanemachi, and he's very good off the claim, so I think this one is live as well. 1, 5, 2, and 4.
Mandatory early pick 5. The reason I bring that up, I mean, how do you get through the first, like you're talking about, a ticket? How do you get through the first leg? You got to go 4 deep just to be alive and to go forward, because to me, the only 2 stretches are the 3 and the 6. I'm 4-5-1, Seth's 1-5-2. George Weaver's runner, a pattern that I like very much, but there's a caveat here, and that is the second race, which does have a Beyer speed figure regression dramatically, was in the slop. So not much of a read there, but I love the comeback race in May. And what, for me, it signifies a strong opportunity to run a low 90s in here, which is what it would take to get it done. Number 5, 1,900. Tom Morley's runner, very impressive in the victory 2 races back. Then tried stakes action, freak this time, and then Antonio Venice, who was a MTO scratch, and now gets a spot, draws down inside. 4, 5, and 1.
Race number 2 this afternoon. We're looking at restricted maiden specials. They will go 5.5 furlongs.
7.62 for me, folks. This is apparently the new popular condition that has popped up for the New York Breds, and Valentine Crusader is my top pick for John Ortiz. I think an Offspring of Honest Mischief won the finale yesterday. I'm pretty sure
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I think that's. Okay. And what I'm trying to say is, like, so obviously Into Mischief has been a stallion long enough that now he's having sons producing winners, and something I like to look at. And you go back, not the most recent, but you go back and there's some solid workouts coming to the debut. So number 7, Valentine Crusader, my top selection. For second, Toga Twist. Jeremiah Engelhardt sends out this Offspring of Omaha Beach. 2 works back, puts up a bullet, fastest of 63. And for third, Dinner Royale for Rudy Rodriguez, 7.62. You're in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you
took the one that scratched out yesterday to run here, right?
Well, I actually I'm using the whole 1 entry. Why can't we do 1A, but we can't do 1E? But I have both halves of the entry on
Not
top.
Supposed to always say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, well, it's curious to me because 2 days.
Curious to me too.
The 1 entry, 7, 6, and 5. Skulko's Folly is by a sire that I looked it up recently, not as much, but just going back a couple of years ago was kind of intriguing on the win early side. So that attracted me. Steady string of workouts. The Obliterator, I think, could also be a player. And you alluded to it. This is an open race, but it's an open restricted race. And again, we mentioned it a couple of days ago. There's a new wrinkle now where open restricted part is you sold for less than a certain price at auction, which it was a great addition to the condition book a few years ago, in that you come up to Saratoga, you paid $60 for your horse, and you go into a maiden special and you're against a horse that sold for $1 million. So this kind of leveled the playing field a little bit with the condition. But this year they added or New York bred. And there's a slew of New York breds in here. The other day we saw the New York bred that cost $500,000 run away from the field. So that was intriguing. But that there's a homebred in here. Didn't go to auction at all as a New York bred. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out throughout the season. But my top pick, both paths of the entry are New York bred. Second spot, Valentine Crusader, another New York bred by Honest Mischief, who end of last year, kind of started attracting attention for me. I think there was a day in New York where a couple of state-bred stakes wins, I think, by Honest Mischief. So he's been interesting. Steady string of workouts down at Keeneland. So looks like a player. And then Toga Twist in the third spot for Jeremiah Engelhardt. A couple of good workouts here by Omaha Beach. Could be interesting as well. The one entry, 7, 6, and 5.
Now, there's only so many hours in the day, so I'm not diving into the condition book, but wouldn't the two be able to run in a New York bred maiden special weight? Like, why would you jump in and take on open company? And
the purse may be significantly different. I don't know what the purses are.
Run for?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
think
taking
it's close.
a guess. But also, this is kind of barely an open race.
Yes.
So they may have entered, and let's see what we're shooting against.
I mean, one New York bred is 50,000, so it would have fit under.
There's only one. There's a Kentucky bred, the 3. Other than that, they're all New York breds.
Very interesting.
That's very interesting.
Very good. Yeah. On to the third race. 3 turns, 12 furlongs, inner turf course, fillies and mares, 2X or 75,000.
3, 5, 6, and 8. You know nothing on top for Miguel Clement. Comes in off a race at Keeneland in April. That was a pretty good effort. 1-3 back down at Gulfstream. So I think comes in with some good form so far this season and makes sense in with this group as well. Miwa, the number 5 horse, started the career over in Europe and since arriving in the United States for Napoleon Pletcher, a 4th and a 5th. But the 5th last time was in a grade 1. So they've had a little ambition for this one. Now, it does tend to come from out of it a little bit. But I think in this particular group, I think it's going to be an okay fit. More interesting maybe than what we've seen in the first 2. And having the first 2 under the belt is a plus as well to move forward from. And then in the third spot, In Time, comes in off a nice second place finish last time to start the season. Should benefit from that and move forward. Third race for me, 3, 5, 6, and 8.
You know, I horizontal players must be a bankroll thing. I'll get to it in a second. 6, 7, 2 for me. See if Miguel Clement can win on back-to-back days. It was a National Archive yesterday, but you have the other one. I have In Time, the French bred, who's had 1 start since October. I like the comeback race at Churchill Downs. That was 11 furlongs. I think should set us up very, very well here. Has 1 going 11 furlongs on the inner. We try and get 12 today on a firm turf course. Number 7, All-American Beauty. Shug sends out this runner off of a second place finish, second time in this condition. And Fantasy Performer for me is for 3rd. Changes Barn. Kentucky Derby, former Kentucky Derby winning trainer. Remember his horse?
No.
40th anniversary of Spendabuck.
Oh, okay.
Cam Gambelotti, if I remember the pronunciation correct.
And I'm imagining, I think he is a Florida guy, so I'm imagining.
I think you're right, because I think Spendabuck was a Florida running horse.
So the change just may be to accommodate
paperwork and things. So 6, 7, 2 in the third.
All right, we'll head to a break, and when we come back, we will continue our look at Sunday action here. I will also update you. I mentioned we have Brad Cox at the top of the hour. Also, Michael Stidham, who had a nice stakes victory yesterday. So you can stay tuned for that. Steve Bick will join me top of the hour, and Brad Cox and Michael Stidham. And I didn't mention top of the show. Don't forget, we have a couple of promotions worth mentioning here. Today, Knockout Challenge down at the Clubhouse Racebook. If you'd like to swing by there and enjoy the racing action, do so. Grab a little lunch at Black Bear and jump in at the
swing on by Knockout Challenge.
The Knockout Challenge this afternoon. Clubhouse Racebook. Also, entries will close sooner rather than later, probably around noontime. Entries will close for the Play of the Day contest.
And it's flush with money.
Yeah, Steve Bick had a crazy knockout opening day, so there's already a nice little chunk of change in there. Swing by capitalotv.com, click on the promotions link, look for that graphic right there, click on that, fill out the entry form, and again, we'll close just within a couple hours and select our team for the remainder of the season. Other than that, let's take a break. Back in a couple. Stay tuned.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, Anthony, Mormino, taking a look at the action wrapping up 4th of July festival weekend here at Saratoga. Let's kick it off in this segment with race number 4, Plain Vanilla Claimers, down towards the bottom, 12-5, 9 furlongs the trip.
Kudos to the horizontal players. This was, to me, there's peak. But I'm not so sure. Like for example, my thought, Linda Rice is such a good trainer, but how much dominant is peak off of avoided claim 78? Then my top pick got a 74 who's 8-1 versus 3-5. It's not like we were talking yesterday where Nitrogen had Buyer's speed figures almost 10 points higher than everybody with regularity. And so to me, I know the race goes through peak. Seth landed on the same thing. Seth doesn't even have peak in the mix. You're learning. I like that. Just go boldly.
Down the 4th spot.
Okay, so I Wayne Potts on the outside. I got to get a trip here. You watch these races. Yes, who was it? So Embrace Time yesterday did win in the middle of the racetrack. That move that you I envisioned being popular, but it's still hard. Take the 45-degree angle. That's the move I like. I call it the Jerry Bailey, Serena Song angle. Get right over and, take your chances by saving ground. Peak I do have in the 2nd spot, but I have to tell you, I did not see, I do not see where Peak warrants 3-5, and Peak could win by 5. I still would be like, is he that dominant over the field? Because 3-5, and David Aragon is great at this, and then OP Firecracker, a little timing there. They add blinkers off of the second start off a $10,000 claim. I think this race is far more wide open than a 3-5 morning line shot indicates.
I would agree, obviously. 7, 4, 5, and 3, all on top. Goes out for Wayne Potts in the Wayne Potts barn now. I think comes in good form as opposed to Peak, who was second last time, but it was avoided claim. And again, we don't know exactly, but I don't think the season so far has jumped off the page. It's been certainly okay. Before starts and only 1 win, couple of seconds. And off the voided claim to come back and drop, I was just a little bit leery. I'm not going to argue anybody significantly off of it, certainly in those horizontal plays, but I was willing to take a pop against. And as I say, Ola, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, comes in some good form in recent starts. 2nd spot, Tiberius Mercurius off the claim. Again, comes in close up 2nd, 2 back, a decent little 3rd last time. They were both in and around this level. So I think class-wise is in a good spot in here. And then OP Firecracker, similar scenario. I don't think anybody jumps off the page. And so I just
kind of
searched around. And
Nitrogen jumped off the page at you. Although kind of what I said was, she was dominant on the speed figures, but her speed figures weren't dominant.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, But for me, 7, 4, 5, and 3.
On to the fifth, we have a restricted claiming going 6.
6, 3, 4, and 5. I will use Trade and Balance on top, as the name indicates. Started the career as a Klarovich runner, and started the career as you would expect a Klarovich runner to do, winning the career debut right up here at Saratoga 2 years ago, and then laid off for those 2 years. Off the debut effort, came back at Keeneland in April, and was running for a tag, was well beaten, and then came back to New York and ran for a lesser tag, and Linda Rice jumped in as the owner. So Linda Rice now has taken over this horse as owner, trainer, and I thought the New York race at the reduced rate was okay, and that Linda, jumped in and they come back at the same level. I'll land there with some trepidation. I don't think the horse is a big standout, but I'll tilt in that direction. Sitting Chili, I think, is a player off the career debut victory for Wesley Ward. That was a New York bred claimer, 30 claimer, comes back in an open conditional claimer for a lesser price. So I think is a square move off the debut win. And then Solo's Fury in the third spot comes in good form at the Finger Lakes for Jeremiah Engelhardt. And I think this is one of those who's racing against allowance runners up at Finger Lakes, has some NYRA circuit form. I think this horse, we think of Finger Lakes shippers as maybe being up against it a little bit when they come. That hasn't been the case over the past few years with some of these, and I think this is one that fits the scenario to be a player here. So 6, 3, 4, and 5.
Claiming 17-2L. This race intrigues me. I'm 5'6'3", flying frisbee. You have to be, very forgiving. The last 2 starts, fatigue setting in after strong internal pace, and unfortunately, as I look this over, I might not get high enough odds because I could be looking at the same thing. Open company, the 2Ls at 30 and now 17.5. I think there's a big divide in New York. The maiden claimer is 40 and 20. I think there's a divide. So I'm fishing here with flying it in frisbee on top for second. Trade in Balance. Makes the third start off of the nearly 2 years ago victory up here. Then Sitting Chili makes the second career start off of a nice debut victory. What's interesting for me, Seth, is my 3 picks. I think the outsiders have a big chance here because 3 of the lowest odds horses I think are going to impact their ability to win the race. I've made like a small handicapping blunder where I've taken 3 horses with the same running style. That's probably not good. And once again, I'd love to sit with a horizontal player getting through these 5 races.
Yeah, the only thing
1, 3, and 5, I find you'd have to be 4 or 5 deep to feel comfortable. So it must be about bankroll.
The only thing about the pace is when you start parsing it out that way, then the gates open and one of them goes out and gets a 5-length lead.
Yeah, that's the problem. We don't have pace tools. We don't have guys on them.
6 race this afternoon. Optional claimer starter allowance. They're on the grass at 8.5 furlongs.
417 for me. Leslie Starr, my top pick for Linda Rice off the $50,000 claim. And I said this earlier in the meet. It has to be a stake in the heart when they win that race. Which is the case here. I guess the one, it's not even an advantage, but you get to run in the starter allowance at least. But some of them can come up really tough. But this is the 3rd race of the year, an angle that I like very much. Has ran very well the last time. Irad gets the mountain here for second. Competitive threat. The odds are going to be at the same, so I'm not interested. But these 2 horses to me are competitive, and you get the. Remember the rails are down. There's no rails on the inner. And to me, competitive threat has an edge with being down inside versus the disadvantage had last time. Life advice, going back 2 races back where it ran for 52L, was very competitive off the bench at Churchill. Then I got the strong regression. I'm expecting the bounce back with Jose, 417.
Joe Sharp trains Life Advice, and on my way home, I saw they were running at night across the street, and I thought, well, I'll do a little doubleheader action, watch a couple of races over at the harness track. And one of the races I watched, a couple of owners rooting for their horse, and I think the 5th race, who just got nipped at the wire, Joe Sharp and Jose Ortiz in on a harness horse. across the street. So that was fun to watch. And as I say, looked pretty good. Parked out for 3/4 of a mile and still came like a train in the stretch and just got caught at the wire, but it was fun. I have it 1, 4, 3, and 2. So I've kind of swapped. I have absolutely flip-flopped your top two. Competitive threat on top for me. Nice maiden breaker last time at the 50 level. I think is a good fit in with this bunch, despite moving into this optional claimer starter allowance, which is certainly a little saltier, you would assume, but I think is going to fit in here off of that nice win last time. Second spot is Leslie Starr off the claim for Linda Rice, as you say, lightly raced, and I think is going to be a clever claim and will fit nicely with this group. Downtown Channel in the third spot. Last couple of starts, 40 N2L, so you think this is definitely a little saltier, but on the numbers, this horse will fit, and it's one of those that relatively lightly raced, time off, comes back. Sometimes they can come back and move forward. First time LASIK symbol here, that might help. So could be a player in here in the seasonal debuts. In the sixth, 1, 4, 3, and 2.
Take a quick break. When we come back, more from the spot.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another beautiful morning trackside. We're up to the seventh race. 3-year-olds and up fillies, optional claimer, starter allowance, dashing 5.5 on the turf.
It is my dark horse play today, and we came up a little short yesterday. Decent little second place finish with the dark horse. So far, second, a win, and a second, and it is guaranteed a positive ROI in the top three positions for the 4 days, because we got a $9 winner to kick things. Just got to get to the $8 mark over 4 days, and that'll be the case in both the win, the place, and the show categories. But we will try to add to it today with the Dark Horse Play today, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga, both on Broadway in downtown Saratoga. I have it 5, 9, 8, and 3. Dark Horse Play is Hugh, the number 5 horse, 6-1. The Brad Cox runner today comes off a voided claim to end the season last year right here at Saratoga. So that for me is a concern, obviously, that had the voided claim and hasn't been seen since. But that they elect to come back at this level, and that they're not dangling the horse out there. Brad's good off a layoff. This horse did show some ability, obviously, last year. Debut effort was not much, but then dropped in for a tag up here at Saratoga in an off-the-turfer and won that nicely, and then was in 40 N2L to follow up on turf and ran an okay second. So I thought the last couple of starts indicated there is some talent here. And again, that they're not floating the horse out there for the price on the comeback. And they could have, I haven't seen the condition book. Maybe there wasn't the possibility, but clearly they could have come back for a waiver for a in a little lesser of a claiming race, you would think. So I thought the scenario all added up that Hugh could be a little bit live in here. In the 7th It's the dark horse play today, number 5, Hugh. Second spot, I'll use number 9, Lady Dioro. A couple of starts so far this season, and I think they have been all right. The number has improved, start 1 to start 2. Primed maybe to move forward. That'll make that one very dangerous. And Missoula in the third spot. Comes up from a try at Delaware last time. Carol Cedinho named to ride. That's interesting because she does very well down in that mid-Atlantic region. And it'll be interesting to see what she does up here this afternoon after having ridden this horse last time to that nice victory. I think this horse is absolutely a player at 12-1. I have it 5, 9, 8, and 3.
Not in the mix, but this is one of my favorite horses of the day. My top pick, 7, 4, 9, Elegant. Seth had Rudy. Is it Brissett or Brissett? I heard you having the conversation as I was leaving, and I thought I heard him say he's very comfortable.
Yeah.
He didn't have really.
He went through an explanation of in France it might be Brissett, and people say.
You know what my rule of thumb
here.
is? What they call you in third grade.
Yeah,
that's my go-to. What they call you in third grade.
And I'm perfectly okay.
But
And I
so-
said to him
he
when he
was so
sat
nice.
down, how do you pronounce it? What do you prefer? And he said, I'm easy either way.
Yeah.
So I went with Brissett, and he said that's fine.
Yeah.
I've heard down at Churchill he gets into the winner's circle, and they'll say Brissett. Right. So that's why I asked. But he said I go with either.
So I'm with Rudy. I guess I'll go with that. But we got Rudy Rodriguez. Elegant to me. Love the comeback race. Cannot explain. It's reported. I apologize. I did not have trip notes for the Keeneland race, but I am forgiving to go back to the seasonal debut. I'm going to get a price, and as I say, you get to ask more questions at a higher price. But Elegant, number 7, one of my favorite plays of the July 4th festival. Number 4, Will Not Be Swayed. Third start of the year. Going to get on the turf sprinting. Broke the maiden at Kentucky Downs. Brad Cox will be in later. And then for third, on the outside of the main body, the 10, 11 are MTOs. Lady Dioro. So 7, 4, 9. In the 7th.
I will say, if people didn't watch yesterday, you can pull it up on our YouTube channel. And I had a couple people on the front side say, that was fun. Rudy Brissett was in, and it was a nice conversation. But just getting some of his background and looking at his bio, he spent a couple of years as the agent for Christophe Soumillon. And I said to him,
that had to be a good job.
I said to him, was this like before he was Christophe? And he's like, no, we won the ARC when I was, but it wasn't his cup of tea, so he moved on. But then I was asking, well, is the agent job kind of similar over there? He goes, I was the first one. I was the ground, but he was the first jockey agent in France ever. So I thought
I'd be interested to know what Christian Suleiman did before. He just, hey, can I ride your horse?
Well, he kind of told that story too. Either from riding here or riding in Hong Kong, but he had some situation where he realized, that's beneficial. And but that was very interesting. Again, you can catch up with all the shows
He's a trendsetter
on Capital OTB's YouTube channel. All right, the 8th race today, plain vanilla 12-5 claimers going 3/4 of a mile.
And I'm the plain number 1 here, 185. Scheduled to break from the number 2 post position is For Some Reason. John Velasquez. Was he out of town yesterday? Was he at the Indiana thing?
Oh, I don't know. It's certainly possible.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed that yesterday. I think he was out there. But For Some Reason, good speed. We're inside. John Velasquez takes them out. We're in for 12-5. That's a drop. Horse was laid off from January to April. Good speed at Saratoga at the Belmont Park of the meet before fatiguing. Force that was at a tougher level. Forgiving Spirit. Winning move stable. Linda Rice first off of the claim on the far outside in attacking position. And for third, Takes Charge Smiling. Must be I would presume a basketball reference. This is a Tampa Bay runner. Has had only one start since the Ides of January, 185.
I don't know that reference. Take Charge Smiling?
Oh, I just think.
Taking charge.
Like a guy who's into playing strong defense. He takes charges and he's.
Playing pickup, there is no smiling because
you can't call a charge.
Nobody calls it, and I'll stand there if somebody's and then they get up and they get mad at you. Like
yes, that's always the way it is. So sometimes I'll just call traveling on them because they usually flutter because you can't call a charge in the pickup.
There've been a couple of times over the past couple of years where I'm like, that's part of the game because they get upset, they run into you, and they're like, come on. It's like,
I will say this: apparently, it turned out. In reverse engineering, a sports faux pas. I was young, maybe 12, and I called a charge.
Oh.
They just all looked at me like, what? I learned my lesson.
It's so bizarre,
I grew up
though.
in suburbia. I finally got into the city. They're like,
so
charge?
bizarre.
No, I don't think so.
In pickup basketball, you can't. And so essentially, I'm just sacrificing myself so they don't get an easy layup.
That's what I was thinking.
Because
the kids who are willing to do it, they just smile about it.
That you're probably right. 2, 4, 8, and 5. The 2 brew pub on top. Drops out of the 25 to half the price at 12.5. I think the drop will be beneficial here. 4-1 on the morning line. I think that's fair for a horse that, again, I think could be a cozy fit class-wise. Rhythm Nick in the second spot. Hasn't been seen since Saratoga last year. Now comes back at a reduced rate off a claim. This one is a little bit dicey for me. But if the horse comes back ready to run, I think could be tough. And the last couple of workouts seem to indicate this horse will be ready. So I'll put it in the mix. And Forgiving Spirit in the third spot off the claim for Linda Rice. Enough said there. I mean, just that factor puts this one in the mix. But what we've seen said it will be a factor regardless. So in the 8th, 2, 4, 8, and 5.
And we'll take our final break. When we come back, the final Daily Double.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Handicappers Report. Another beautiful morning coming to you live on the backstretch. It's, I'm always slow to, because not everybody can experience where we are, but it's such a glorious place on nice weather days, and this is one of them. And so, like I said, even 2 hours, come on and stop in and jump in and watch a couple races.
Get a $1 hot dog. $1 hot dogs all weekend long.
And I think so. There will be 49 days of racing at this Grand Place. This is the only non-stakes day, I think. That's the way the schedule goes. I mean, I'm making an assumption, and I've looked at the calendar. There's a stakes race every single day at the meet, which is.
When it was.
I know a couple of years ago, I think the Morrissey didn't fill. And so it was a stakeless day, but that wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
That wasn't the plan. So no stakes action today, but you're granted a beautiful weather day. So mile and 16th on the inner, optional claimer, starter allowance, race 9.
5, 6, 4, and 10. Cognoscenti. I came close to that. I think I was there. Had a little bit of a layoff, in the 21st century. That's not a huge layoff between the March start at Gulfstream and the return to New York to break the maiden. Now was moved into the Miguel Clement barn for the first start against winners outside the maiden ranks. Also, that maiden breaker was in state bred company. So we'll see. But I thought the win was good enough to think this horse will be okay. Irad Ortiz sticks, so we'll put the 5 on top, but I have a little trepidation. Willing to risk it all in the second spot. Comes in off the turf race that was pretty good, but the turf race just before, I think, firmly puts this horse in the mix as well. So I'll throw that in at a generous 10-1. Also a 10-1 on the morning line. Just to Fly. Lightly raced runner for Mike Trombetta, third start of the season. And again, I just think this horse is probably a fit with this particular bunch, given the type of numbers the horse typically throws. So in the 9th, 5, 6, 4, and 10.
Boy, I'm not quite head over heels, but 4.95 for me. Just to Fly, I think is a sneaky good horse here at double-digit odds, making the third start, coming up from the Mid-Atlantic, reaches out. Michael Trombetta, a solid trainer, reaches out to get Javier. We're inside. There's a couple horses, Elegant, Just to Fly on this card that I'm very amped up for. Jay Hirsch making the seasonal debut, changing barns, and then Miguel, come on, going with Irad off of the win. You said taking on the winners for the first time, which I think is it's a sizable hill at a bad price, and you might get a worse price by the time the betting's done. I try and be so genuine with our audience. I have a sneaking suspicion you have Just to Fly third. I think this horse is going to get bet a little. Is it, Delaware? I just have obviously I want the horse to be 17-1, but I just think this horse is going to be found. Many people are going to land on it more than a 10-1 price would indicate. So 4.95 for me. It's
overall a pretty evenly matched bunch. The top two, my top two have a little bit of an edge on the numbers. There are a couple others in here. So if it's coming down, I don't think too much, but I do like the name Just to Fly by Just to Fly.
Now, what's interesting is you said something that I agree with. Very evenly matched race. I like to put a 10-1 shot on top.
I don't blame you.
Evenly matched race.
Yeah. 10th and final today. It'll go off at about 6:15. State bred maiden claimers going 5.5 on the grass. I wrote at the top of my page, kind of a modest bunch.
No, I'll go with that. Like I said, the state breds will have a clear divide, I think, between the monies. We came sort of, this is just a flyer for me. 8, 4, 10, a first-time starter, an offspring, a Fog of War, Misty Fog going out for Carrie Brion or Brian. I think Brian.
There's another one where I've heard both.
But I think I don't think that's a toss-up for her.
No, I think
so. I apologize, but because I think it's Brian. Yeah. I feel 90% sure because it's how you remember things, and I remember it's not how it looks. So I Carrie Brian, who I apologize to because she's been coming up here for maybe 3 summers and been doing very good.
Before that, former Shepherd.
Yeah, that was her start, and Chris Elliott has the mount. I think it's, I wouldn't sink my teeth into anybody, so I like a 15-1 shot on debut. Miguel Clement sends out 4. Is it Light the Mirror? I'm not familiar if that's a verb or a noun, but it's a first-time starter, and hopefully I'll learn it from Frank. And for third, number 10, Miss Uproar, who Seth will speak to, his top pick. Tried maiden special weights a couple times, gets back in for a tag.
I'm guessing it's just a play on the dam side, like the Merrow.
Okay.
The
Paul?
Yeah. 10, 9, 6, and 1 for me. Miss Uproar on top. Comes in off a nice turf try during the Belmont Stakes weekend up here. And I think that promotes this one as playable, particularly with the move back into the claiming ranks. Get it is in the second spot for Jim Bond. It is the law runner that hasn't shown a whole lot so far, but this will be the second start of the season, second start in for a tag. The numbers, again, in a modest group, the numbers, I think, match up nicely. And then Blue for You in the third spot. A couple of starts so far for Ray Handel. And like Gatitiz, they haven't been spectacular, but I think they're going to fit with this group in here this afternoon. So 10th and final today, 10, 9, 6, and 1.
I think it's a nice 10 race card on a Sunday. I don't know how many they're going to have, but kind of the end of the week. And there'll be 3 dark days in a row, and then we will have what's become usual in the past couple of years, a Thursday kickoff to the official Saratoga meet, and we'll run 5 days a week with the 6-day Labor Day at the end of the meet.
Yep, it's going to be an extended summer, but if the weather holds out like this, it's going to be a great summer because today, again, if you're thinking about coming up, do it. If you can't make it up, Clubhouse Racebook, If you can't go there, watch on the network. Play at
just
home.
Before you get to the things, I'd be interested to see what the rail setting is on Thursday, because I'm going to suspect they're going to put them up on the inner, but I'm not convinced they're going to take them down on the main. That sort of has been a Travers week dropping on the main for a while now. That has become almost standard operating procedure, which, I've said it before. I mean, my problem is the timing. I don't think I've ever met anybody, Seth, who follows the game closely that just takes it at face value with the rails up, goes, yeah, that's right. I haven't met anybody that believes in the teletimer with the rails up on the turf racing. So my point is, I think they should have the fewest amount of racing with the rails up as possible.
Yeah, well, that's fair. And weather plays a lot into it. But as I say, if we continue to get this weather, we'll knock wood, hope for the best as that situation. Once again, today, Clubhouse Racebook Knockout Challenge. Stop down and enjoy a little extra fun at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Don't forget the play of the day. Entries will close in a couple hours, about noontime we'll close, and pick our team. Steve Beck, who's in the green room, to jump on board for Loose on the Lead next. Got things off to a great start opening day, and so there is a nice chunk of change already in the pot for the Play of the Day contest. We'll select 50 people. I can tell you, I was looking last night. There are a lot of folks lined up to get on the team. So add your name if you haven't already. Go to capitalotv.com. Click on the promotions link, look for that graphic, and then fill out the entry form. And again, we'll select the team a little bit later today. So keep that in mind. And again, top of the hour, just a couple of minutes away, Steve Bick jumps on board, and we'll have a Sunday edition, as usual, of Loose on the Lead. We'll be joined by Brad Cox, who had a nice day yesterday, as well as Michael Stidham, who also had a nice stakes victory yesterday as well. That's all coming up in a couple minutes, so stay tuned.
Can't believe 30 plus years since we ran juveniles a mile on the turf. Mm-hmm. Brad Cox knocks it out of the park. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful Sunday. If you get a chance, stop in for a little while. Take a nice breather at the beach maybe for 72 hours. We'll see you back here Thursday morning.
This has been the Handicappers Report, brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.